Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel for our match preview and predicted 11 live stream, as well as talking about any other news, of course, ahead of Chelsea against Tottenham, with the kickoff being tomorrow afternoon at 4:30 p.m. UK time. The third time in, 3 weeks or whatever it is that we're playing Tottenham. So, makes it a bit less exciting, because usually when we play Tottenham, it's like, come on, play Tottenham. Do you know what I mean? But now we've already just played them twice and beat them twice, so things can only really get worse from here. It's just that things are just a bit annoying. I can't lie. Am I over the Brighton game? Not one bit. I'm still fuming. I still am. And then when Tuchel confuses me because he seems so chirpy in the press conference, I'm like, how are you so chirpy? I don't understand. Please can the team also be as chirpy on the pitch? And then United scored 93rd minute winner, and Spurs get a 97th minute winner after Leicester are the biggest bottle jobs in history of this bloody sport. Do you know what I mean? But let me be positive. Let me be positive. We need to get back to winning ways in the Premier League. We absolutely have to. Tottenham under Antonio Conte still haven't actually lost a game in the Premier League. Of course, we beat them twice in the League Cup, like I just touched on. But in the Premier League, they haven't still lost the game under Conte. So can we please, for the love of God, change that tomorrow? Because cannot be bothered with them getting praise and with us getting stick and with us being shit. Because honestly, it's just really, really grinding on my nerves, and it's just, do you know what I mean, Charlie? It's just bad. It really puts me in a bad mood when we're just, sometimes you drop points. Hey, it happens. But when we drop points like we did against Brighton, it just really gets on my nerves.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. It's one of them where, you're going to drop points throughout the season. It's going to happen. But I think the most frustrating thing for us this season has been the manner of how we've dropped the points. The Brighton one was awful. Probably for me, one of the worst performances, if not the worst, under Thomas Tuchel. And then obviously the draws at home against teams that we should have beat, basically against Everton's academy team. We couldn't beat them. The one against Burnley, even Man United as well. We seem to be awful against Man United in the league. I can't remember the last time we beat them in the league. So it's just frustrating that, these games that we've dropped points in, we could have, obviously apart from Brighton, we arguably could have won all of them, or definitely not. Well, I don't think we should have lost against West Ham, really. Didn't get outplayed. So it's just been frustrating that how many points we've chucked away, and yet we're still in a position in the table that we are. It just goes to show that if we were a bit more consistent and had attackers that were more clinical, then we'd probably still be right in this title race. But as it is now, we're fighting for the top four.
Bloody Southampton can score against Man City and we can't. Southampton, after 7 minutes, 1-0 up against Man City. Completely pointless now after we lost to them. But, had we beaten them, this would be like, oh my God, Southampton is 1-0 up against City. We could catch them. Obviously, City will probably win this anyway. Although, City have dropped points against Southampton already this season. So, you never know. But no, I completely back it, Charlie. Yes, most of our bad results, we should have still won, even though we weren't as good as a lot of us would have liked in a lot of situations. But the Brighton one, the City one, both City ones, but especially the first one, I guess. The second one wasn't that bad. We could have won it, but we were still outplayed. Of course, against City, we kind of accept that more because, especially over the last month and a half, we've all kind of come to accepting that City are just better than us, especially when we don't have a full squad. So we're weren't that hurt about it, but still, we need to find a solution. And obviously, the title says, must Lukaku be dropped? The thumbnail even says, Lukaku must be dropped. I'm not sure if that will fix everything. I doubt it will fix everything. Just if you drop him for one game, I don't think it will change that much, personally. But Thomas Tuchel needs to find a solution. We can't just keep running around. As much as we have, certain problems, and we're Chile's out and Reece James is out and this and that, and players tired and injured centre-backs and centre-backs not signing new contracts. I get all of that. But we still have better squads than 95% of teams we ever play against. Even with all our injuries, we still have better squads than 95% of these teams. So we need to find a way to start beating these teams. He needs to find a solution. And I'm not saying this in a critical way of him, not by any means. But I just really hope that he comes up with something that works. Because, Clutch has said this many times, not necessarily in the same context, but we keep doing the same thing. Even though recently we've slightly changed the same thing, we keep doing essentially the same thing, and then we're confused why we're not playing any better. Obviously not. But at the same time, you can't change it too drastically either, because if you change it too drastically, you need to give the team time to work on it. So it's a tough one, Clutch. On that very note, I'll get to you because one of the debates we'll have today is, do we play a back three or do we play a back four against Spurs? Because, initially we were struggling with the back three. Then we changed it to a kind of this mixed back four, back three against Spurs in the first leg of the Carabao Cup. And it worked wonderfully well. We were all pretty happy, even though in terms of big chances created, it wasn't that huge and we needed a very silly own goal by Tottenham to actually win the game 2-0. But still, it looked quite good. But obviously on the day, like we've discussed on a number of occasions, Tottenham were also awful, which helped us look better. Right? Then we did the same thing against Spurs in the second leg. We were still the better team, but we were certainly not as great anymore as we were in the first leg. And then against Brighton, we did it again with the back four. And we were quite frankly outplayed for nearly 90 minutes. So now I'm like, well, which one do we go with? 3 at the back with awful wing backs, or 4 at the back where we can't defend counterattacks?
It's a tough one. For me, I think, even though this is water under the bridge, I think in the summer, one of the things we really needed was we needed that DM, because we needed the ability to switch. We needed somebody who was going to sit so we could defend those counters, so we could move to a back four. I mean, I said that last year when we needed Leicester to bottle their game against the Spurs to even get in the top 4. I keep saying that. I know people say we win the Champions League, but we don't know if we win that Champions League if Leicester win the game and end up going into the top 4. That just puts too much pressure on Tuchel to get that game right. He didn't have as much pressure. It was because, you're in top 4, so you're going for that win against City. I think, for me, I think we have to stick with this back 4 now, especially since we're out of the Premier League. I think we have to stick with it, so the reason why we did back 3 in the first place is to defend better, so we didn't give up as many goals. It doesn't matter now. We're giving up goals regardless. So if we're going to give up goals, we might as well try to put the attack into it and get our attack going. That way we can outscore people. Yes, there is reasons for that.
If I can quickly interrupt, just to not play devil's advocate, but just to add another question to what you're saying. While I see what you're trying to say, the problem is when we've played the back 4, we've not scored more. So now if you make ourselves more susceptible to conceding more, but we don't score more, we will get worse results.
Yeah, but I think one of the reasons why we don't score more, I know the question is our attackers aren't good enough. It's maybe some. I'm going to say some, but you can't tell me that Kai Havertz, Pulisic, Mason Mount, even Ziyech to a degree, or Lukaku aren't good enough. We've seen them do it before. There's no reason they can't. It's just this formation, this back 3 formation has stifled them. For whatever reason, we never really scored that much. The only time we ever scored last year was against Crystal Palace. And that's when we had Pulisic, Havertz, and Mount in the front 3. So, to be fair, I think, and I'm not saying this is our midfield is bad or anything, because we have one of the best midfielders in the world, because it suits the system that we play. But at the same time, if this defending isn't working and we're leaking goals because of X, Y, or Z, because James isn't there and Aspie is slower and Alonso's there and slower, and that way they're not getting back in time, so we're just getting cut from wide positions or whatever. I think the only solution is to help our attack and try to put the attack back into a good place, because I don't buy this. They're not good enough. Monster was saying it the other day, and I completely agree. You can add anybody you want. Is it going to change? Is Dembele going to personally change our problems? No, he's not. It's just silly to think that. We can keep buying attackers and hope that they work, because that's what we've been doing. And that's one of the big problems, is we keep buying one player hoping that's the solution when it's a structural change that we need. We need to be able to be unpredictable. We need to be, because right now teams know how to beat us, and it's not even that hard. You either go out and attack Alonso down the left, or you break us on the counter, which we can't seem to deal with. So for me, I think we have to go to the back 4 and we have to get it going, because for me, I think we need to put the attack back into the forefront, because if the defense isn't working like it should, and we're not going to have those same defenders all the time. It seems like the defense is what keeps going out with either be Chalobah or Christensen, so we can't always rely on the back 3, and that's good. And I guess, to be fair, Sarr's been good the last couple weeks, so he stepped up when we need it. But if we have Sarr come back and he isn't, and he's that same player we seen earlier in the season that was dropping 3s and 4s on the ratings, then we're going to be in a lot of trouble.
So I just wanted to quickly say, I think the reason why, for me personally, why I don't particularly like the back four is, and the reason why I think Tuchel's going with the 4-2-2 is because he hasn't got a holding midfielder to play a three in the middle. I honestly think if we had someone like a Declan Rice or a Tchouaméni, we'd go 4-3-3, and we would perhaps not see the three at the back that much anymore. I feel that he needs a holding midfield player. I know you can say Kante potentially, but I think a holding midfield player will help us play three at the back. Not three at the back, sorry, help us play three in the midfield. And then we can go back to the 4-3-3, or and have two out-and-out wide players with a centre forward in the middle. I'm not sure I like the two that much. You get a bit more attacking players on the pitch, but as we've seen, it hasn't really made any difference. And there's aspects of it I like, but there's also aspects that we've seen and it hasn't really made any difference, as you touched on. We're not necessarily scoring more goals or creating any more chances by having an extra attacking player on the pitch. So I think in the summer, if someone comes in midfield, I think we'll see us play four at the back next season.
There's a good chance of it. My not concern is maybe the wrong word, but why I think it's if we go with what Clutch just said, and it's go with the back four to almost work on it type thing for us to get better and use this situation where we're not really chasing the league anymore, because next season we're going to try for that again. So then we're going to be maybe a little bit more hesitant again to try things. So use this time to try things. The only slight problem I have with that, the way we've been trying it, it's not playing a full back four like we've discussed on multiple times. It's this mix, right? On the ball, we play a back four, but off the ball, we still revert to the back three. So, and that, in my opinion, while I like the idea and I like the tactical fluidity and it's brilliant, that is only a thing you should be doing for one-off games. I don't think you should be doing a mix of formations for an extended period of time, because whoever those players are that have to constantly shift positions to make this shift of formation work, they have to do extra running and have to do tactical instructions of two different positions, meaning essentially they can't do either to 1,000,000%, because if you do either one position perfectly, that automatically means you're not doing the other position perfectly, because then it doesn't work. So if we do what Clutch is suggesting, in my opinion, you need to go full back four and stop switching it. But for me, it's I don't think we can sit here and just because we lost out in the Premier League now, pretend we're guaranteed a top four spot, mate. Spurs are if we lose to Spurs tomorrow, theoretically, touch wood we don't, right? If we lose to Spurs tomorrow, there's Spurs have so many games in hand over us. If they theoretically would win all of them, they would be not just with us, they would be, I think, 6 points in front of us if they beat us tomorrow, right? So we are not completely safe here from top four, and that's where I'm sat, and I'm maybe we should just do the back three just to make sure we get the top four secured. So I think there's arguments for both sides of the discussion. We'll get into it in more detail in just a little bit. I do want to go to you, Pice, and obviously when we do discuss it in more detail a little bit later, obviously I want all of your thoughts on the whole situation as well. First of all, Pice, can't forget, thank you for coming as always, bro. But the question I would add to what we've discussed already is a little bit of transfer news, I suppose, because it's January 22nd. Obviously, we see your Twitter and we see how annoyed you are, and just, rightly so, of course. And I just said it off air. The problem, not only have we not signed anybody, there's not even any concrete links to anybody. Almost the only concrete links we have are bloody recalling Emerson. And that we've been trying for the last month and have failed miserably at. So there was minor links to Barno is his name. Sosa, obviously the Croatian left back from Stuttgart in the Bundesliga. There's been minor links to them or to him. But is there anything significant going on? Any development with Dembele potentially that you could inform the people about, Pice?
Yeah, Dembele's been an interesting one lately, for sure. I mean, I know that, me personally, if any of you follow my account, I report someone called Shea Lugasi, who is a Barca sort of insider, kind of like we have CFC News page, I guess you could say ITK, but I don't know if you want to brand it that, but they have sort of club sources of their respective clubs. So he knows a lot about what's going on at Barca, and he was one of the first ones to report a few weeks ago that the Dembele story was over. A few weeks later, it is over, it seems. And also with Serginho Dest, I mean, he told me quite a few weeks ago that Dest actually wanted to stay, and then that came out true. So I was like, okay, he's really good. He knows his stuff. And he did tell me that potentially Chelsea would be willing to do a loan move this January window. But again, I discussed this with Laurenz. Is like I don't know where or how he would come in because we would have like 7 or 8 attackers, right? So it would be quite difficult to see Dembele come in. I don't think personally it would make much sense. Of course, I would like it to happen because I want to back Tuchel. And the thing is, like, I see a lot of people lately is like they're saying, well, oh yeah, but I back Tuchel, but I don't really, agree with this. Like, you either back Tuchel or you won't. Like, you know what I mean? If Tuchel had a choice, he would 100% want Dembele here. So for me, I want to give the manager his signings again. He spoke a lot about him in depth in the press conference. He could have just said no comment or something, but he said I worked with him too short a time period. He's talented. He went, he kind of bigged Dembele up. He said I don't really know his situation, but yeah, I think that's something to maybe watch out for in the last few days of the window because we don't know what's going to happen with Dembele. I mean, currently he's training with Barca, but I mean, Barca when he's gone, right?
If anything for Dembele would happen, do you think it's more likely it's a loan with an option?
Oh yeah,
it's
it'll be a loan.
Yeah, sign him now.
No, it will be a loan. Is what Shay and a couple others have said. So,
there you go.
yeah, I trust them. But to be honest, I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen in January. I mean, Fabrizio said Dembele doesn't even want to leave in January. So it's kind of like the Dest situation where it's kind of maybe there, but it's not really there. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of hanging there, but will it? All sort of will one of them just connect? Will the deal connect or will it not? I don't think so. Like, but that's just probably me being really pessimistic now because obviously Chelsea have been really slow in this window. But saying that, what always happens with Marina is we usually leave it till the last few days and then something does happen. So I mean, if I was to call it now, I don't think anything will happen. But I'll probably give it I'll give it enough sort of 4 or 5 days before I start making real conclusions on what I think is the end of what's going to happen at the end of January. But yeah, there's not much, Laurenz, to be honest. I mean, left wing back, Nizar posted saying, Chelsea really struggling to get Emerson. I mean, like, fucking hell, like, it's just a joke. Like, seriously. Like, I don't understand why Chelsea have tried so long to get Emerson. They clearly don't want to accept compensation to just bloody move on. This goes back to my point. I'm not going to go on a run, but as I said, they should have multiple options, not recalling fucking Kennedy. Like, come on, guys. They should have multiple options. I mean, I know it wasn't necessarily realistic, but I'm watching Lucas Digne today. Just looks such a threat for Aston Villa. Like, I just there's so many players out there that we don't know about because we're not scouts. But these guys at the top should be doing their job and should be making moves, and they're not. They really aren't. I mean, the Chelsea academy signed a left wing back from I think it was Derby, and I commented under Nizar's tweet saying, "Oh, Chelsea fixing the academy left wing back issues for the first team."
Southampton 2-0. That's mental. Sorry to interrupt you, bro. Broja apparently.
Great, yeah. So that's. I mean, the thing is with that, Laurenz, is like I don't even care about the result now because we messed it up. We're so many points behind.
No, it's more pissing me off that Broja scoring.
Yeah. And this is another thing I guess you could say about the board is his future's uncertain. I mean, I don't like the way the Athletic are kind of hinting that he could move this window. I don't like that because they don't come out with they don't come out with information constantly. So when they do, it's kind of like, oh, something definitely happened behind the scenes. And I tell you what, if Marina sells Broja, I just can't. I can't with this club. I generally can't. Marina uses the cash, the academy system, using it as a cash cow system because she bought players like Zappacosta, Batshuayi, Barkley, all these guys, Alonso, Emerson, that she can't get rid of because no one wants to pay the valuation. She's saying, and also their wages are so high. So what does she do to raise money? Oh, she turns to our wonderful academy, taking advantage of it by selling all these talented guys with buyback clauses. Like, she's just honestly. Anyway, let's move on because this is a Spurs preview. You've got me into the whole board situation, so let's move on. But you get my point. It's not good enough.
I do think it is important, by the way, to say it's a board situation. I think it's not right to just like we can't pick and choose when we say, oh, this is just Marina, and sometimes we pick and choose this is Marina and the board, Marina and Roman. Like, it's never just Marina. Like, yes, she might have the final say on things, but
no,
she doesn't just run around and, doesn't just run around like a judge, throwing hammers on tables, deciding shit. Do you know what I mean?
Well, she runs the club day to day now. Roman's not there, so she kind of is our owner right now. So she has been
Of
for
course,
many
but
years.
still, like
She
that,
does the
she
deals.
doesn't like sit there and just make decisions by herself. Do you know what I mean? Like she is advised on things, as anybody in a high position in any company would be. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I don't. I would like to know a little bit more about what Czech actually does, because I know he advised Mendy, but there's never really any sort of inside information that's released on his actual role. I mean, what is it, like a title of a technical and performance advisor? Like, I don't even know. Like, I know we have scouts and they'll say to Marina, look, yeah, this, and player, but is that even true? Because like we've had no this, and this player, and you know what I mean. Like, there's no reports of these players. Like, at least in the summer, we had Matt Law come out with the information that we was looking at Adama, we was looking at Hakimi, we was looking at Chouameni. We took one a striker, took one Kunde. Like, those are scouted players. Like, this window, what have we had? We've had nothing. We've had maybe Dest, and that's an opportunity. Digne, opportunity. There's no one that we've scouted. Like, the only real link that's come out so far is that Sosa, and he's apparently for the summer. Like, what are they doing? Generally, what are they doing? I don't understand.
It is a bit of a weird one, like especially the wingback situation is very strange. Like on that one, we can't even like Tuchel literally said in press conferences he's kind of given up on talking about it now. I mean, he's not asked about it anymore either, to be fair. But still, like a few weeks ago, he was talking about we are looking and doing this and that, and all the looking we've been doing is trying to get Emerson back, and that's kind of it. As a last question about this, I'm kind of just gonna pose to you what Melinda in a way has said in the chat here, Pies. Why are you so sure that Tuchel, for example, wants Dembele? Like, what has been the necessarily reliable report for us to be sure of that?
Of Dembele?
Yeah. Or is it just the fact that he likes him as a player? But liking someone as a player doesn't mean you want to sign him.
Well, it's not just liking him, Laurenz. I mean, this is a guy that has a relationship like Mount and Frank Lampard. Like, this is a bit different. They are like very, very close. I mean, Dembele left when Tuchel left Dortmund, and Tuchel said they kept in touch over the phone and stuff like that. Like, they were very, very close. Similar to Neymar and Tuchel. Neymar said recently he'd die on the pitch for Tuchel. Like, people have
didn't
a lot
play
of
like
players.
it though. I can't lie.
yeah, but still, like, I think in terms of like player and manager relationships, like there's a lot of deep ones that are out there, and people just I don't necessarily think about that all the time. Like, I think it's a bit more than liking him. Like Tuchel said, he's the most talented player ever. Like, you think of the clubs Tuchel's managed: PSG, Chelsea, Mainz, Dortmund. Like, there's a lot of players. He's a lot of attackers he's worked with, but he still said Dembele. So, 100%, in my opinion, he'd be up for signing him. 100%, I think he'd love him here to work with a player that is not only someone he knows and likes, but is better than our attackers. Let's not get that twisted. Dembele's injured a lot, but he's still, when he's on form, he is still one of the best younger players in the world. He is. He's ridiculously talented. He can play on the left or right. He's 2-footed. He doesn't have a weak foot. He doesn't have a weak foot at all. He's so 2-footed. His dribbling is insane. Huh?
He literally takes penalties with both feet.
Yeah, and that's something that in the Premier League especially is just that's amazing to have, because obviously it's just unpredictable. You don't know where you're going to shoot. It's like Greenwood, right? Greenwood's so good because he's 2-footed. He scores so many goals because he's 2-footed and unpredictable. So, yeah, there's definitely a debate to have about his injuries and whether fans would want him here. But Tuchel, 100%, I think Tuchel would love him there for sure.
Fair dues. Let me just quickly react to a message from earlier in the chat, actually, by Yo-Yo saying, Laurenz, I want to hear your thoughts on Dylan Williams. So for people that are unaware, Chelsea, according to Wayne Rooney, initially he said, we let Dylan Williams go to a Premier League club, wasn't confirmed, but then journalists confirmed it's Chelsea that are trying to get him from, like I just said, Wayne Rooney's Derby County, sorry. But yeah, no, he's not coming in for the first team. If people aren't aware, he is a left wing back, which you would think would be coming in for the first team. But apparently, we're spending our resources on trying to figure out which left wing backs to sign for the youth team. So that's pretty smart. But yeah, he's not coming into the first team. And obviously, I don't know anything about any Derby County players in the Championship. So, not much of a thought I have on this other than that I'm questioning why we're even spending our time figuring out who to get for left wing back in the youth teams. I don't give a shit. Sign a lleft wing back for the first team. Do you know what I mean? Like, we have much, 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 much bigger problems than that. But let's move on. Let's get back to, or To be honest, Clutch, actually, let me go to you, and obviously to actually, Clutches, I've heard your opinion on the whole Dembele situation. I don't think I have for you, Charlie. Would Dembele be someone you'd be interested in, or would the injury record and the the disciplinary record, and also the racist incident that he's had, would those things put you off it too much, or do you see it as a case of if Tuchel wants him, we keep sitting here and say back the manager, then we need to back the manager?
Yeah, well, that's what it is for me at the end of the day. Like, if Tuchel wants him, I'm 100% behind the manager. So you trust his judgment and you see how it works out. But from a personal perspective, it's one that does excite me a little bit. It's, I've been like following Dembele since, he was starting out at Rennes, guess that moved to Dortmund. One of the best players in the world. And, Barcelona don't spend like 120 odd million pounds on someone who isn't one of the best. And on his day, he is one of the best in the world. But obviously, his day has not been that often at Barcelona. He hasn't played a lot of football in the last few years at all. But he does contribute, and I think it's one of those where he's been part of the Barcelona setup where the big money signings haven't worked out. The Griezmanns, the Coutinhos himself, and that if he actually gets out of that Barcelona situation, he could go somewhere else and realise his potential. I think, for me, he's got a much higher ceiling in terms of ability-wise than any of our forwards, in terms of wide forwards. And he's more of an out-and-out winger, which I think we actually lack width in the forward areas, particularly now that we haven't got Reece James or Chilwell. And if we're going to go to a back four potentially next season, we need more width from like two of the wide players. We perhaps need more out-and-out wingers. I think he fits that bill nicely. The fact there's no transfer fee either is appealing. I know, agent fees, etc., signing on bonus, it would be large, but that also appeals. And at the end of the day, he's not going to be any worse than anything we've got. So I'd be up for it happening, but ultimately, for me, it's not a priority signing. Like we don't need him right now, but if we can do a deal now for him to come in the summer, then I'll be happy with that.
It is true. And obviously, one thing that people constantly point out for Dembele, whether we loan him now or just sign him on a free in the summer, or whatever happens, right? If we do sign him, we're always going to sell him for a profit. The one slight counter argument to that I will raise is if he keeps being injured at a different club, there is no guarantee you're going to make profit because you don't even know if you're going to find a club that actually buys him. And also, not just a club that would buy him, but a club that would buy him that also Dembele would want to go to. So there is not a complete guarantee that if things don't turn out well, that we can just sell him comfortably. Because if the reason for us wanting to sell him again is being injured, then that's two clubs and 5 years of just injuries. Like at some point, clubs won't want to take the risk because, especially clubs that have less funds than a club like Chelsea, they can't risk paying high wages, like ridiculously high wages for a player like Dembele if he's going to spend more time on the treatment bench than he is on the football pitch. So, that is a little bit of a thing to keep in mind, I suppose. But I do also get the point that Pice said to me the other day on WhatsApp, like, he was never injured at Dortmund. He only started being injured when he came to bloody Barcelona. It is a case to be made, and obviously there is a chance if we get him that those injury problems to some extent stop. But that's pure speculation. There is no way of knowing in either direction. But Charlie said one good point there. Even when he was fit for Barcelona, he hasn't been particularly great. Like his biggest moment for Barcelona is probably him being the reason that Liverpool won the Champions League in 2018 or 19 or whatever it was, because he had an open goal to make it 4-0 to Barcelona in that first leg. And then Liverpool probably don't turn it around. So then, Liverpool never make it to a Champions League bloody final. Do you know what I mean? So like that's arguably his biggest moment in the Barcelona shirt. And that's not good, is it? But Clutch, anything you would like to add on the Dembele situation? Otherwise, I'll go to Pice so we can continue our back three or back four discussion.
I agree with the back Tuchel. If he wants him, then go ahead. Because at the end of the day, the only way we're actually going to get any sort of progress is to back Tuchel, whether I think that's a good idea or not. I don't, but again, I think we got to back the manager, and that's kind of where I'm at. Do I want him? No, for various reasons. But if Tuchel wants him, I think it's an idea to explore.
Fair dues. For me, it's similar to what you just said, but I'm not really going... Of course.
Lawrence, can I just ask Clutch something? Clutch, who would you want? Because obviously, we're going to sign probably wide forward. Like eventually Werner or Ziyech or maybe Pulisic is going to leave. Who's on your target list then if you don't want Dembele? I'm just intrigued.
For me, I've been looking at even though me and Laurenz talked about this yesterday on WhatsApp. Dream sign would be Son from Spurs, but that's never going to happen. But I think Rafinha from Leeds is a really good idea. I like the way he plays. I think he's very direct, and he's got that Premier League experience currently, especially in a hard-working team. I think him would probably be one of the better options. Dembele, the thing with him, the reason why I don't necessarily want him is we already get on Pulisic for his injury record. Why would we add another injury-prone player? It makes zero sense. You might as well just go get Hazard at that point, and maybe Hazard gets back to the same form. I would love the old Hazard to come back, but it's not going to happen. So, for me, I think Dembele's negatives outweigh his positives. And I think if you're going to go for somebody as a wide forward, I think Rafinha would probably be the better option of the two.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I also think one thing that we should perhaps look to do, rather than constantly looking abroad for bringing in these kind of players, why aren't we looking at the Premier League a bit more? We've seen Liverpool with the signing of Diego Jota, for example. That signing has worked out very well. It's good scouting, etc. Great recruitment. I think we should be looking more in the Premier League. So, like Clutch said, I think I like Rafinha at Leeds. Not that it would happen, but another young player at Wolves who's quite exciting. I think Pedro Neto's very good, got high ceiling potential to push on. So I just think we should perhaps, even the likes of someone like Jared Bowen, I'm not saying we should go and get him, but maybe we should look at these players. There are decent players in the Premier League that we should perhaps be looking at, and rather than constantly looking abroad for players. So I just think maybe we should slightly switch up the recruitment tactics, as it were, and look to more Premier League proven players, because you can get very good players in the league. We've seen us sign decent Premier League players before, like Anelka, Cahill, etc. So, there's no reason why we shouldn't be looking at the likes of Rafinha, Jared Bowen, and others, and Pedro Neto as well. So maybe that's something we should perhaps do.
Maybe it is. Yeah, maybe it is. The problem is there because in terms of quality, I don't think anyone's going to deny that Dembele, in terms of ability, rather, is far superior to Rafinha or Bowen or whoever else you want to mention. Like, essentially better than any Premier League winger from the ones that we can potentially get, because the big clubs are not going to sell to us, because obviously they're not going to want to sell to one of the main rivals, right? So that's not going to happen unless City is probably the only big club we can buy from, just because City have this, if someone wants to go, they let them go. But they haven't really done it to another Premier League club either, or especially to another big Premier League club. So I'm not 1,000,000% sure. For me, and I know it's maybe a little bit of a cop-out. I get that. But for me, I don't, sometimes I'm like, why do I need to make that a decision? Who do I want? It doesn't really matter who I want, because it doesn't really change anything, right? What matters is I just want the board to sign whoever Tuchel wants. I don't know how badly Tuchel wants Dembele. We all know that Tuchel likes Dembele, but what at least from my understanding, we don't know for sure is whether Tuchel has also said that, well, his injury record is a bit of a problem, because I'm sure Tuchel doesn't like players that are constantly injured. As much as he rates him as a player, if he's if he's injured all the time, as great as he is, that's kind of pointless for me. So, but if Tuchel wants him regardless, go for it. But I don't know that. So that's why I'm not really here to make a judgment, because whether I say I want Rafinha, whether I say I want Dembele, it's all well and good. But I haven't done enough watching of any of them to say I've scouted them properly to have the perfect educated opinion. From what I've seen, I like both. Dembele is clearly better, but Dembele is injured all the time. But then there's also no way of me knowing will he continue to be injured at Chelsea or not. So that's why the way Pice just asked Klushik, who would be your player to sign? I don't really know, if you ask me that question, but I feel like I also don't need to know. The club and Tuchel need to know. I don't need to know. I'm more like just what's here. I can judge on that, and we'll get to talking about Lukaku in a minute. But I like I said, I get that it's a cop out, but essentially it's true. It doesn't really matter what I want. I know I'm here making content about it, so I will tell you my opinion on certain players. But whether I think they're going to work at Chelsea or not, I can have an opinion on it. But please don't think I'm right when I say that, because how am I meant to know any better than bloody Tuchel? Or even as much as we criticize our scouts, how am I meant to know better than our scouts? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's like I said, maybe it's too much of a cop out, but obviously I'll ask you that, Pice, now, and obviously then continue to the back 3, back 4 question. But if Clutch gave you that answer, what would be your response to that? Because do you feel we as fans like need to have an opinion, or do you see what I mean?
I mean, I was just asking him as a fan. I think we all.
No, I know. I'm
have
not
our
criticizing
opinions.
your question. I'm just saying I just don't really know.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I was just asking Clutch because, I mean, when someone says they don't particularly want somebody, that usually means they want someone else more than them. So I was just asking as like a fan perspective, but yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it seems like a fair few of you are watching the Southampton City game at the moment. Unfortunately, I am not. I could, but I didn't really think of it in time, and now I'd have to replug things to get it up on there. So I do apologize, but seems like Brozier's doing well, albeit not having scored. But he won a penalty, which was offside, and he assisted or scored. Unclear information from the chat. But Pice, obviously, with Charlie and Clutch, we already discussed it, at the start of the stream. It's a hot minute ago now. But in terms of back 3, back 4, which side do you lean on? Like, do you see what Clutch means by like just go for the back 4 and stick with it until it works, essentially? Or do you think it's more like on Charlie's end, where you're like, well, the back 4 didn't really improve us that much going forward, if at all, but it made us worse defensively. So, probably better stick to the 3 if the back 4 doesn't actually make us better going forward.
Yeah, so I know we had a slight disagreement on it, making us worse defensively, especially against Spurs. I thought we just really dominated them when we played before. So I think we'll do that tomorrow. I think we should do that tomorrow. We're at home, so I want us to attack them from minute 1. I don't see any benefits in playing a 3 at the back. I don't see any benefits in having another striker isolated, because I think, let's be honest, Lukaku's going to start. So do I want Lukaku in a 4 with another striker, or do I want him in a 3 with one? I want him in a 4 with another guy. So, I want to play 4 at the back, even if Lukaku doesn't play, to be honest. I'll just make a slight adjustment at the back, I think, which we should have done against Brighton. But I think it will be a 4 at the back. And unfortunately, the guy who I want to play in defence probably won't play either. So I mean, great. What do we do? Like, it's us as fans can have an opinion. I don't necessarily think we've looked any, better. Or I guess we looked a tiny bit better in a 4, but. I mean, it's not, it's not massive. It's not like, oh, we should just stick with a back 4 now. We should stick with the back 3. Like, I still think it's dependent on opponent, and I think that's what Tuchel's probably thinking as well. What makes sense, I think, for example, Liverpool in the cup final, obviously you're going to play a back 3, in my opinion. Like, that's just what you do. That's not a game where you play a back 4, especially in the Wembley pitch, all that space. Like, hell no, like, it'd be the worst decision ever. But in terms of Spurs at home, when, they haven't got Son, that counter-attacking threat, yeah, they've got Lucas, but, like, if we can't deal with 1 or 2 players, then we've got no hopes in hell anyway. So I think, we're at home, we take control, we go at them, and we win the game. There's no need to play a 3 at the back, in my opinion.
I hear that. I mean, I see what you're saying, but like, to me, Brighton was just, you could argue Brighton was like an extremely bad day and just an extra.
Brighton are a miles better team than Spurs. Can I just put that out there? Like, I know it sounds ridiculous, but they are miles better than Spurs. Miles, not even close.
Well, in terms of working the idea of the manager, yes, but in terms of
they're just
not ever taking their chances and therefore not getting the results they sometimes warrant.
Like,
clearly
tomorrow,
not.
I can guarantee you now, and I'll look stupid if I'm wrong, but I think tomorrow will be a much easier game than Brighton.
Yeah, but I agree, but that will be, I think, more down to us, hopefully, not being as ridiculously bad as we were against Brighton.
Do you think? Because I think when we played Spurs, I think they were just shocking. I don't even think we.
Yeah, they were.
You know what I mean? Like, I just think they're I know everyone's kind of like, oh, but they just beat Leicester and they're on a high. But like, how often does that happen? Like, 2 goals, like 95th, 97th minute. Like, you know what I mean? Does that really make much of a difference when they come into the game against us? Like, I don't think so. Like, You know, they hardly ever beat us at Stamford Bridge as well. They got literally the worst
They
record.
don't, but the problem is they don't want another draw. I'm not again, hopefully it doesn't come back to bite me in the arse, but I'm not that worried about losing. I'm just more worried about drawing another game.
I agree. There's a lot of draws, but again, this is why I want to play a back four, because I think we play a back four and we draw. I still think we're going to get a lot of chances. If we play a back four and we draw, it's like, I can almost guarantee that's down to us, but we play a back three and we draw, I can guarantee I'll be sitting here saying, or I won't be because I'll be at the game, but I'll be on Twitter saying, well, you know, we had 1 or 2 chances this game, or maybe 2 or 3 chances this game. If we played a back four, we might have had 5 or 6, and that could have been the difference. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like with a back four, you're definitely going to get more chances. I just think that's natural because there's an extra attacker and you play more attacking. But with a back three, like, I know we press high and things like that in terms of the centre backs, they push up, and yeah, we're not a defensive team in a back three, not at all. But I'm thinking, like, from the manager's perspective as well, like, I'm 100% sure he's going to play Lukaku. So I don't want to see that again. I don't care who he's with in a back three up front. He's just like, I don't know if this is, we've discussed this. It's partly his fault, it's partly not. I mean, I saw an image the other day, right, of, I think it was against Brighton. Alonso, for God's sake, right, he had the ball and he passed it back, I think, or sideways, but he could have played this square pass through to Lukaku. He was out on the wing and Lukaku would have had a one-on-one against the defender, but no. Like, so there are occasions where we're not picking Lukaku out, whether we play a 4 or a 3, which is true. But still, I think with a 4, I think we're more attacking, and I think we need to get them. We need to get out of the game tomorrow. And I think with a 4 as well, if Havertz plays, at least you're going to have one striker that's going to be bloody pressing down the left-hand side. You know what I mean? Whereas when you play Lukaku just through the middle, like, he just doesn't. You know, it's too static. You know what I mean? At least with the 4, there's going to be wide cams pushing up. There's going to be the one striker pressing, because I don't think Lukaku's going to press, but I just think it's better for this game. And I'll be saying something different, probably in a different type of game, but that's not Spurs. But I think with this, 100% play 4.
I agree with you that if we now claim that Lukaku has to start, then I agree on the back 4.
He doesn't have to start, but I think he will. No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to that discussion in just half a second. Let me just react to this message here from member Bryanson saying, Laurenz, let's not forget about Diego Costa. He used to be an injury-prone player at Atletico Madrid before he moved to Chelsea. In all honesty, you're not completely wrong with that. He really was. And he was less injury-prone at Chelsea. But he still had his 2 to 3 hamstring injuries every season, even at Chelsea, which is why he never got over 20 goals a season, unfortunately. Like, obviously, the 15-16 season is a bit of a different situation, but you know, the other seasons he still missed some games due to injury and arguably therefore didn't get that many goals. So it's a fair point, though. Let's not forget that our defenders were the ones saving us with scoring a lot of goals. Do we really need an additional attack on the pitch? Now that is to some extent a fair argument, because our defenders score arguably more goals than all of our attackers. So would playing one more of our inconsistent attackers even make the attackers better? Do you know what I mean? Like, it is a point to be made. Because you brought up Lukaku there, Pies, let me just share something on screen, which I saw earlier on Twitter. And I cannot even begin to explain how mind-boggling that is to look at. I'm not sure if all of you have seen it, but look at this. Gonzalo Higuain, the guy we signed at, 34, whatever he was by the time we signed him. Everyone said it's too slow and too fat and too this and too that. Played one less game than Romelu Lukaku already has for Chelsea and scored the same amount of goals. Higuain also played with Alonso, by the way. So, like, I get, obviously, Pies, I'm not trying to ridicule the point you just made about Alonso. But, like, obviously, like, I think sometimes people take when I criticize Lukaku a little bit out of context, because even if I criticize a player and think they were shit, obviously they would have still found it easier to do better if players around them did better. But that goes for any player. Like, those are arguments we could have made for Tammy. Those are arguments we could have made for Timo. Those are arguments we could have made for Kai when he plays up front and doesn't score enough. Like, those arguments are this player didn't find him and this player didn't find him and that player didn't play the right ball. That argument goes for whoever the striker is up front. Like that, like, it's completely regardless of who is up top, whether more balls and better balls would be useful. Do you know what I mean? But when you see that, Charlie, that is not good. is it?
No, it's not good. But I mean, it's different systems, different, style of play when Higuain was there. I mean, yeah, it's not great reading, but ultimately, I think for Lukaku, we've talked so much about it. For me, yes, he needs to do more, but as Pius has said many times, it doesn't help when we've got players that aren't picking out his runs or aren't playing him in when they could, going sideways, going backwards instead. I think the slow play transitions from midfield to attack doesn't help him necessarily. He has to do better with a lot of aspects, but I don't think we particularly help him out much either. But yeah, if you look at the graphic on the screen, it's not great that he's only scored the same amount of goals as Higuain, but I still think this can work out, but it's gonna take a lot of sacrifice from Lukaku, a lot of just graft and just get your head down sort of thing. But I've still got faith it might work. But yeah, ultimately that graphic there doesn't look great. But I mean, it could be the same for a lot of those forwards. Higuain would probably have the same amount of goals if you looked at the appearances.
Yeah, no. I continue that with the question before I go to the other boys. For me, Lukaku undeniably now has to be dropped. If we want to keep any sort of meritocracy at this football club, if we want to if Lukaku keeps playing, and I'm not saying necessarily just for tomorrow, but if this just keeps going, that he keeps playing, and obviously if he gets better, that changes. But if he keeps playing while being awful, there will come a point where I'm like, well, I have to question Thomas Tuchel. Like, I love Thomas Tuchel, but if he keeps playing a player that's dog shit and then says after every game he's not the problem, he's part of the solution, when he's literally creating more problems day by day by day, then at some point I will question it. Like, there will come a point where I'm like, honestly, I love you, Tommy, but... And then obviously we can have the debate, is it pressure from above to play him or not? But then we will never know, right? Or that...
Laurenz.
Go on,
Laurenz. I'm sorry. When you said Thomas Tuchel the other day said he's a part of the solution, you know why I said that? Because the board have told him he's not leaving next summer. So look, he needs to play Lukaku and he needs to figure something out. Because as he said, he's the solution. Lukaku, yes.
Mount isn't leaving in the summer either, and he's dropped him for City.
Yeah, but it's different. He's younger. Like, Mount can drop in and out the side. I just think we've got so used to Mount playing like every single game. With Lukaku, he's in his prime right now, and like, as much as I hate watching him at the moment, dropping him for like 1-2 games, I don't think that solves anything either. I think it might just make things worse. Because I think as soon as he gets a goal, I think he might get some rhythm. Like, he might not, but he might do. And like, with these big games coming up, like Spurs, we had Man City. Like, I'll be annoyed if he starts tomorrow, but I'll understand it, because if he can get a goal against Spurs, like, that might really boost him. Like, I'm not saying it wouldn't for other players that are in and out the side, but like, he's in his prime. Like, I think he has to play, because, as I always say, he's a £100 million asset. Like, I don't know, Havertz is expensive. I know that, but still, different situation. He's younger. He's got many years at Stamford Bridge, probably. Lukaku hasn't, but he's probably still got. I think he probably stays for 2 more seasons. I think Lukaku probably stays for 2 more seasons. If nothing blows up again, like, this is only if nothing blows up. But I just think, like Tuchel's saying, he's a part of the solution, because I think it's the long-term solution is Lukaku's still going to be here. So what's the point in benching him? We've just got to get on with it and hope he starts firing and hope that teammates click with him. And I think the sooner we do that, the better for everybody involved. But again, as for fans, it's very frustrating, because I feel like every time we see Lukaku play, we're like, oh, for fuck's sake, we know what's going to happen here. We're not going to look as good and we're not going to press. And it's all valid. But like, as I keep saying, I'm dead sure it goes more beyond than that. I'm sure Tuchel's annoyed still. I mean, even, who said it? I think, who was it? I mean, Matt Law said in his podcast, right, the other day, London is Blue podcast, he went on there again. He said, I don't think this is the end of Tuchel and Lukaku, by the way. I think it's, let's put that under the book of like to be continued. It might blow up again at some point, but I think for now, I think Tuchel's just trying to smooth things over by just keep playing him and hope he figures something out. Like, that's not to say Tuchel doesn't take digs at him. I mean, look, Tuchel's taken a lot of digs at him lately, and but I don't know. I don't think it's just as simple as just drop him. I just don't. I don't think it's like that. I really don't in this situation. I think there's more to it.
I see what you're saying, and that I think that would apply if, even though we play quite badly, we would win games. Bro, we're not winning games. We've dropped, what was the number? 15 points since the start of December. Or was it even more than that? Like, we've dropped so many points. Like, we can't just sit here and pretend like, well, we'll just play Lukaku. Like, if we start applying that logic, whoever we ever sign, just, he has to keep playing until he gets better. Which is why I disagree. I think Lukaku hasn't learned his lesson one bit. Like, one bit. Lukaku doesn't, in my opinion, think that his interview was an F-up. In my opinion, Lukaku didn't mean a word of his apology, and the way he acts and moves on the pitch, I just want to slap him in the face. Like, when he started having a go at Ziyech, when he couldn't control the fucking ball, we can talk about whether Ziyech's ball was good or not. It wasn't great, but it was certainly not unfucking controllable for a £100 million striker. And when I say controllable, I mean he didn't. I'm not saying he would necessarily have been one-on-one with the goalkeeper, but he didn't have to run it out of fucking play just because he couldn't control it. And a player that plays like that needs to be dropped. I don't care what bigger issues than us not winning a game can there be. Like, if we keep not winning, we will not make top four. And then we can get all of these numbers, all of these players that we all want, straight out of our heads. We're not getting none of them.
No, but again, Laurenz, like, this is the thing. If there's been like games where when Lukaku hasn't played this season, I've like, well, if Lukaku played today, we would have, he would have been in the box for those chances. Like, it's not like dropping Lukaku is going to make us start winning more games than we are at the moment. I mean, fair enough if you think that, but I don't. I don't have confidence in Havertz to drag us through, this period of games. I mean, some do, but I don't. Well, his record don't suggest that.
I don't think that whoever plays instead of Lukaku makes us so significantly better. I just think the whole team is better without Lukaku. I think the whole... we were sat here after Brighton, like, the mood in the dressing room, like, Ziyech not even celebrating. Where was any of that before the interview? Nowhere. Nowhere to be seen. And we was already having bad results left, right, and centre, by the way. So, like, you can't say it's only the bad results. Like...
I know, but we don't... Even if we play better, we don't necessarily win those games anyway. Like, that's why people are forgetting. People forgetting this is the reason why we bought Lukaku, bro. Like,
we wouldn't just be playing a striker for hoping for him to ever be good.
Yeah, that's what we did with Timo Werner the whole time. Like, under Lampard, he played all the time.
No, but with Lukaku, bro, like, Lukaku, as much as he's crap all round, like, if there's still a chance in the box that falls tomorrow, and this is what I keep saying, like, if
then
there's
he
chances,
scuffs it. Like he scuffed the City chance, like he scuffed 3 against Chesterfield,
I
like
don't
he scuffed
agree,
1
but...
against Spurs.
But like at the end of the day, for me, like I feel more confident with him playing on the pitch. So I don't trust anyone else to put the ball in the net. Like
exactly.
But he missed a couple of chances against City. Should score them, yes. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you can't tell me that Werner, Havertz, Ziyech, or Pulisic is scoring that chance against City. They 100%
are. Create more chances with them instead of Lukaku.
But then we might not score them anyway. So, like, what's the point?
This is the problem, though, isn't it? Like, you look at it and you think, oh, right, okay, it'll be great to have... Lukaku doesn't play in this game. We're going to look more fluid. But then, fine. But then what we want is we create those chances and then you'd want Lukaku on the pitch to finish them because no one else... You can't trust anyone else to finish it. So,
okay, but can I say one thing to that? Because why we don't score chances is not always incapability, right? It's a mix of bad luck, bad decisions, bad finishing, good defending, like a mix of all of those things. But if you don't even create the chances, you don't even get yourself to put it to the chance. Like, if you don't create the chances, there's no way of you ever scoring. And we don't create chances with Lukaku, especially in the back 3. I get Price's point. In the back 4 with 2 up top, it's a little bit different, a little bit. But the problem still exists that with him, we don't create enough. So yeah, it's all well and good saying if we get chances, he scores them. Well, we've played it 5 games in a row now. We've been shit 5 games in a row, and that includes Chesterfield, because even against Chesterfield, we weren't bloody good.
I still think,
especially Lukaku.
For me, ultimately, like whether people like it or not, he's the best goal scorer at the club. In terms of out-and-out goal scorer, he is the best like comfortably. He's way better than anything else we've got. So
but on the basis of what? On the basis of what he did at Inter, on the basis of what he did at Chelsea?
On the basis of his overall career, he's got. I know the Premier League's different now, but he's got over 100 Premier League goals. He scored loads of goals at Inter. He scored loads of goals for Belgium.
That's fair.
I know he's further in his career than some of these other guys that are younger that we've got. But at the end of the day, he's a proven goal scorer. We don't have any proven goal scorers in this team. I know people like to talk about Kai Havertz should be playing. I quite like Kai Havertz, but let's be honest, Kai Havertz in the Premier League this season has been awful, terrible. But
has he been worse than Lukaku?
Well, that's not my point though. What I'm saying is though, he isn't it's all very well, for people to say, "Oh, we need to get rid of Lukaku, drop Lukaku." The fact is, the alternatives aren't any better. That's my point. The alternatives we have aren't any better.
Well, obviously, when the emotion comes out when I get angry about Lukaku, yes, that stems from the interview. But what I'm saying is, any player that's out of form, we drop. Why is he the only player? He's just not in form. Yes, what Charlie's saying is right. He is the proven goal scorer. Yes, he is those things, but he's not those things right now. So why do we keep persisting with it? I get Pice's point. Dropping him for 2 games might not change anything. But it also might. Because we've tried not dropping him for 5 games now, and that hasn't worked. So at some point, we need to try not just keep playing it, because that so far hasn't worked, and there needs to come a limit to how long we're going to be willing to try that for.
Laurenz, did dropping him against Liverpool work?
Yes.
Really?
I think we win.
I think we beat him. That was by far our best game in the last 2 months.
Yeah.
No. I mean, no, not in terms of that. I mean, in terms of him coming back into the side. Did it change anything?
If necessary, I'll drop him for more games. I don't give a shit.
But that's what I mean. I know I'd want him dropped tomorrow, but it doesn't change anything. It just doesn't. When you drop a player, the whole reason you drop a player is because they've not been playing well enough, and that you expect a reaction from them. Lukaku's not going to give you that. He's not. He's proven that. He's lazy. He's lazy shit.
Then he just gets to stay on the bench until he changes that. Because I'm sure he wants to keep
But
playing.
then that will cause more internal problems. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
what more internal problems than what we have right now, where he's essentially, with an interview, forced
because it'll be more media stories. Tuchel will get annoyed with the journalists asking questions. Mourinho will probably be like, right, well, I thought, Tuchel, you've moved on now. We need to see some progress. Tuchel will probably be like, well, yeah, I'm trying, but he's playing crap. And then Mourinho will probably be like, well, you're the manager, fix it. You know what I mean? It just causes more internal problems if he's dropped for a long period of time. And it's a shame because, as you said, after this interview, he's won. He's won at Chelsea. He gets dropped. He probably thinks, oh, well, he plays crap. Oh, well, I'm not going to get dropped anyway. He's in a position of security when he shouldn't be. And it's kind of like, well, yeah, player power probably has won again because clearly the guy's not, he's clearly not interested by his performances, and he just keeps moaning and things like that. So the players won at the end of the day. Dropping him don't help. Starting him don't help. So what do we do?
But we haven't even tried dropping him yet, other than for 1 game. And that game was better than the other games with it. That's what I'm saying.
That's an even bigger game than Spurs, bro. That's an even bigger game.
Talk about will it kill Tuchel's career at Chelsea? Not making top 4 is what will kill Tuchel's career at Chelsea. And playing Lukaku is risking top 4 right now. That's what.
So's playing Havertz.
How do you know? When was the last time we played Havertz? Last time we started him, he scored. Unlike Lukaku.
Yeah, but he's not. But what I'm saying is
he's got 4 goals in 60.
What I'm saying is form. It doesn't matter what happened in September.
He's crap as well. He's crap currently as well. He's not been good.
How do you know? He hasn't played since Spurs.
Because since the cameos he's come on, he's been shit as well. So
but cameos what?
When you're supposed to actually
do something and prove
to the coach.
What's he going to do?
You're supposed to prove something to the coach when you come on the pitch, and he hasn't been doing that.
10 minutes. He literally brought them on for 10 minutes against Brighton. What are any of them going to do in 10 minutes?
Last thing I was quickly going to say on this: would you, Laurenz, would you be happier? Do you think we've got a better chance of finishing in the top 4 if Havertz plays at number 9 for the rest of the season or Lukaku?
I don't care. For me, it's not a decision needs to be made for the rest of the season. For me, a decision needs to be made. What we're currently doing with Lukaku doesn't work. Do something different. If it works, stick with it. If it doesn't, after 1 or 2 games, you can go back to Lukaku, see if it changed. Because there's no point in sticking with something that doesn't work.
No,
Like-
I get that, but there's also the flip side to it where you're like, the club has spent a lot of money on this guy. It needs to work. Do we just keep playing him to play him into form? And and now because of the interview, etc. Like if Tuchel does put Lukaku on the bench, it just creates more and more noise around the club that perhaps we don't need. And I know that's perhaps right, not right necessarily, but ultimately
there is one thing that will shut those problems out if we drop him and win. Because right now we're not winning with him. Because even the worst English media outlets, if we drop Lukaku and all of a sudden win after our dreadful run of form, they will say, Carragher literally said it the other day on Friday Night Football for Sky. He literally said, we look better without Lukaku. We play better without Lukaku. So, like, there is already English media talking about the fact that Lukaku shouldn't be playing. So
that's
why
the same English media But it's the same English media that when he signed, were like, oh, this is the missing piece of Chelsea. He's going to be like what they need to challenge for the league. So, like, the media is very fickle. They'll turn on you if things aren't going well. But I do agree at the moment it's not working right now. But my issue is what alternatives have we got? I don't think we haven't got any. If we had a better alternative, it would be simple.
Bro,
the alternative,
Champions League.
Yeah, no, but the alternative is to play a guy that won us the Champions League, but we struggled to get into the top 4 last season. We had to rely on Spurs, like Havertz, and the way we was playing last season is
but you can't just say that is all of a sudden just Havertz's fault.
No, I'm not. I'm saying like the guys around him, like even if.
And right now we're struggling to get some form if Lukaku keeps playing with our current form.
But Laurenz, so what you're saying is, tell me if I'm wrong. What you're saying is, say theoretically we played tomorrow, like I don't know, Pulisic, Havertz, Mount. You think that gives us a better chance of winning the game, or say we play that for the next 3 or 4 games? You think that will give us a better chance of going on a run compared to Lukaku? Because for me, it's just when Havertz plays, I want Lukaku's profile up there. I want strength. I want something different.
I don't.
When Lukaku
tried
plays,
that and it hasn't worked.
When Lukaku plays, I want Havertz. I want someone who's faster and moves off the ball more. But if Havertz plays, I want someone who can actually finish the ball inside the box. Because Havertz is not like. He's a good finisher, but he's not like he doesn't score a lot of goals. I don't understand why people
I agree with that, bro. I agree. But the problem is
that
Lukaku doesn't score goals either right now. That's what I'm saying.
But
we can't just pretend like Lukaku is currently this clinical striker because he isn't.
Let's agree to disagree. Let's just agree that there's no solution right now. That's the real solution. There's not. It's just there's no solution because when Havertz plays. There's certain elements you want of Lukaku. When Lukaku plays, there's certain elements you want of Havertz. When Werner plays, there's certain elements you want of somebody else. Like it's the same with the wide forward. When Hudson-Odoi plays, you might want Pulisic because he's more direct. But when Pulisic plays on the left, you might want Callum on the left because he crosses more. When Ziyech plays on the right, you might want Mount on the right because he's better at dribbling and just better and more consistent. Like you know what I mean? The real solution is they're all out of form and they're all playing shit. So, like, as much as I want to do this lineup, I don't care who plays tomorrow. I don't care who plays tomorrow.
Havertz hasn't played.
Huh?
Havertz hasn't played.
Which is also a problem itself because when he comes back in, he's going to have to get up to speed to things again. Like, there's no like magic one where we can play Havertz tomorrow and he's going to be better than Lukaku would be. Like, as you said, he hasn't played, so. Like, what I mean?
Would be better than Lukaku has been the last 5 games.
I don't know. You can't say that with ChessJet. You can't. Like, it's not.
No, not for the future, but for the past 5 games, I can't say that.
You can't though, because Havertz can just Havertz's bad games are like also really, really bad. Where he's like clunky, doesn't win duels, he doesn't win anything. Like he just, you know what I mean? Like, I've seen Havertz have bad games, and they are bad games. Like. Lukaku's a bad games, but like I don't like. I don't know, like playing Havertz tomorrow, cool, but it doesn't solve anything.
Don't stifle our whole attacking play to one way of attacking.
But it doesn't help us either. It doesn't help us either because we look more fluid and we press more, but still we had the problem last season of even though we dominated,
but don't talk about last season. We're talking about the current run we're on. It doesn't matter what happened last season.
Yeah, but. Well, the players haven't changed, Laurenz. In anything, they've got even worse. So, say we did. Just imagine we didn't have Lukaku right now. We'd probably be dying out for Lukaku because He's something that we don't have, even in this system. Like when we play with Havertz.
If we didn't have Lukaku right now and it wouldn't work, would we bring Lukaku in? Yes. So why, if Lukaku isn't working, do we not bring the other guy in? That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying drop Lukaku forever. And like, we were obviously sat here and I was angry after the interview. But if he came back and played well, I wouldn't like sit here criticizing him, because then there's nothing to criticize for the things he does on the pitch.
This is why we needed another
it's not
striker.
working. And any other player in the whole team, if they played shit, they'd be dropped. But he's not. And that in itself is the problem, in my opinion. That's partly why he needs to be dropped. Because how can it be that he's the only exception to this rule?
I agree in some extent, but this is why we needed another striker. For me, Havertz at false nine, even short term, has never been. It doesn't fill me with confidence when he plays up top.
Neither does it to me, bro. Neither does it to me. I'm not saying Havertz is the God Almighty Savior that will save our season. No, of course I'm not. But I'm saying we need to at least give it a go, because like Lou, you said it in the chat the other day. You put the stats of results with Kai Havertz playing more than a half, and the stats without playing Kai Havertz. I'm not saying Kai is the solution to everything, but when you see those stats, you can't just say we're equally as shit with Kai as we are without him, because the stats literally quite tell you the opposite. Like, quite literally the opposite. We've only won 3 games this Premier League season that Kai Havertz didn't start. 3. And you're telling me we're better without Kai Havertz, but better with Lukaku. But I know, Pice, you're saying play both. I get that idea, and I don't even have a problem with that. If we do that, fair enough. I am then on the counter side a little bit worried about the back four, especially, or about the midfielders and about the back four and who plays, because Thiago Silva already plays way too much. Playing Thiago Silva too much in a back four is even riskier for Thiago Silva. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. But I don't know. I generally think Spurs tomorrow, I don't think they're going to cause a lot of threat. I may be wrong, but I just think it'll be another one of those games where we're hyping it up to be more than it is. I think we'll just be in full control. I think we're just better than them. Even when we're in a bad run, I still think we're better than them. So I'm more concerned about Brighton, to be honest, than Spurs. I'm not overthinking this too much. I don't want to play a back three because I don't think it's needed. But in terms of like team and stuff, like I don't necessarily think Thiago Silva will get tested massively tomorrow at all. So, in terms of back four and like that's your thinking towards tomorrow. Like, I don't think that plays a part, because I just don't think Spurs are that team to constantly press us and put us under pressure, and like, you know what I mean. Like Spurs would have to have like a top level game
but
to
that's exactly
even
the
put
opposite
Silva
of what
under
I'm worried
pressure.
about. I'm worried about getting hit on the counter, not being pressed.
Yes, I don't know. I don't think we'll get hit on the counter. I think when we play a full, we have a lot of cover. So as long as
I know we already spoke about that when we played Spurs last time, but Spurs could have easily scored 4 goals against us last time we played them. Like, one needed a wonder save from Kepa, and the other 2 needed Spurs being shit in VAR to not get them to score. Like, we were already susceptible to their counterattacks last time. And then they didn't even play a good team. They didn't even play the strongest team in that second game against us. They put bloody Golini in goal. Do you know what I mean? They rested Lloris.
Yeah.
And by the way, it was Golini's mistake that gave us our only goal. So if Lloris is in goal, we don't even win that game.
I guess we just see the game differently. That's going to happen tomorrow. I don't think... I don't necessarily think, I think it could end up in a draw or something like that, but I don't necessarily think in terms of Spurs, I don't think there's going to be as big a threat as everyone seemingly thinks they are.
It's not, I mean...
Even on counters, like, I'm not worried. I'm not worried on counters.
Obviously, I realise we're going slightly around in circles now. I do apologise, everybody watching, and I do apologise, Clutch, please just shout in if you have something to say. I will get to you in a second. It's not necessarily that I'm worried about Spurs, I'm worried about us. Because... yes, Brighton were good against us, but the reason why Brighton were so good against us was us being as shit as we were. Like, yes, Brighton are arguably a better team in certain aspects of what they try to do than Tottenham. Fair enough. But the problem is whether we turn up or not. And if we don't turn up, any team in the bloody world is a problem. While the complete opposite is when we are on it, any team is scared of us. Like, it doesn't matter whether it's City. Look at the Champions League final. If we turn up, we could beat anyone. But if we don't turn up, unfortunately, we are this hot and cold at Chelsea. Anyone can also beat us. Like, if we played like we did against Brighton, I wouldn't have been surprised if fucking Chesterfield beat us. That's how bad we were. Do you know what I mean? I'm worried about that, not Spurs. It doesn't really have that much to do with Spurs. But if we can't hold shape in our back four and stop any counter-attack, doesn't matter who counter-attacks us. If we can't stop counter-attacks, then that's a problem. Do you know what I mean? But clutch. I mean, I hope Heist is not like, oh, Laurenz shouted at me. I never shouted or got loud in terms of against you. I just got heated because Lukaku's pissed me off. But clutch, I haven't heard from you in a hot minute, even though you just said in the private chat you just enjoyed the conversation. But obviously we've spoken about Lukaku at multiple times. But what's your opinion for tomorrow? Is it for tomorrow for you just play Lukaku and Kai? Do you think Lukaku needs to be dropped just to keep some sort of meritocracy? Because my worry is also if you keep playing him, it will piss all the other players off more and more and more. Because every other player is not stupid and sees that Lukaku isn't playing well. But they see, well, when I don't play well, I'm dropped. So why isn't he dropped when he doesn't play well? That, to me, also causes behind-the-scenes problem. I get that what Pi's point is. If you drop Lukaku, that could cause problems. But I think multiple players getting upset is a bigger problem than just Lukaku being upset. Because I don't think Lukaku has enough friends in the dressing room to cause a major issue, personally. But I could be wrong on that. But Clutch, how do you see it?
I see both of your guys' points, to be fair. So I think I probably would tend to agree with your side. I don't think anybody should be undroppable. I think that sets a bad precedent within the team. But I get, like, if you're going to get the best out of Lukaku, you got to play him. But ever since that interview, it's not been well for him. So I think he's putting more pressure on himself to actually score those chances to kind of make up for things. And the longer we keep doing that, that's how you get players who are just in bad form. Look at Timo. I mean, we kept playing him no matter how bad he was. Is it a different situation? Yes, there's a cost evaluation that comes into effect with it. But I think if you look at Timo, his confidence is so shot. I don't know if he'll ever be able to get back to where he was because of how bad his confidence is right now. I think we're doing the same thing with Lukaku. I think you need to be able to drop a player. I mean, you look at like a lot of the players in that dressing room. I mean, even Mount giving his angry eyes because he was dropped for City, even though I completely agree with the way he feels about that. I think the problem is a lot more complicated than that. Havertz doesn't score as much as we would like him to. But, I mean, if you look at, like, the finishers on this team, Lukaku is the best. So, I mean, if you want goals, and what we need desperately is goals, you do have to play him. But at the same time, who's your second best finisher? It's probably going to be Pulisic by the numbers. I mean, it's kind of sad to think that way. But he's shopped so far around the pitch that he's never going to get the chances that he should that to even give those performances. So I mean, for me, I would probably drop Lukaku, because I think we are more fluid. We do need to get better chances in there, and we need to kind of get our players kind of firing. And it seems like the players don't want to play with Lukaku. I mean, it feels that way. I mean, if you are going to play him, it just seems like by all accounts, Ziyech is one of his friends in the locker room, and he's bickering at him for 30 minutes straight, even out of halftime. So, I mean, for me, I would drop Lukaku. I think that's probably the best way to go about this, because, I mean, he needs to learn, like, even when bad form, I can be dropped. Is it going to cause problems afterwards? Sure, probably. But this is only the problem that he created. It's not one that we created. It's not one that Tuchel created. He created himself. So he's got to atone for it himself. And that's just part of growing up and being responsible and being accountable for your actions.
Yeah. And then when I see with Simon Johnson tweet, Brojo is giving Manchester City more to worry about than Chelsea's expensive attacking options did last week, that pisses me off. And that's partly why I don't want Lukaku to play, because Havertz didn't even get a chance against them. And Lou's comment here, this is quite literally what I mean. No one's going to save us, yes. And that includes Havertz, even though I say I want Havertz to play. We need to go back to teamwork. And seemingly with Lukaku, we can't have that because he's busy giving interviews. And I'm sorry, I know I take digs all the time. But even like look at the Brighton game. Did it look like we had any teamwork going on? Do I know if it's going to be better if Havertz did play instead of him? No, I don't. But at least I want to try it. If we do it and we look the same miserable bunch of wankers, essentially, like we did against Brighton, then yeah, fair enough. I was wrong, and you can go back to Lukaku all you want. But at least I want to see it. Because I don't want to sit here and say, oh, it's going to be the same shit anyway. Because I don't know if it's going to be the same shit anyway. Because all I know is last time Havertz played, he scored against Spurs, and he was the only one of our players that actually did score against Spurs, because the other goal was an own goal. Like, really going to second leg, of course, but like he was the only one who did, not Lukaku. He was the only one who did it. But let's get to, I mean, the problem that we have, especially when we're not sure with formations, is what do we do in terms of lineup that we get up on screen? Because we've already gone too long to like start two separate lineups now. So I did paint a 4-2-2 up on screen now, but I'm not. Obviously, Charlie said he would prefer the 3. I'm not 100% sure what I prefer, if I'm being perfectly honest. But Clutch and Pice would prefer the 4. So, that's 2 at least people that are certain. So I guess we're going to go with that on screen. But we do need to discuss that. Obviously, there's a lot of positions where things are clear in case people aren't aware. Chalobah is back in training from his hamstring injury, but Thomas Tuchel said yesterday in his pre-match press conference that the game comes too early for him. I don't even know if he'll be in the squad, but he definitely won't be playing, or at least starting. So, we essentially no one's back yet. Good news is Reece James is back on the pitch, but not like ahead of schedule. He's just doing normal things that anyone would do after a bad hamstring injury. Slowly but surely, you do soft running out on the pitch. Like, that doesn't necessarily mean he's now back any closer than we initially feared or whatever. Everything's kind of still the same. We just hope there's no new positive Rona test either today or tomorrow. That's all we can hope for. So we have at least the squad that we have right now. The one thing we do know, though, is that Kepa Arrizabalaga is going to be in goal. Played well against Spurs last time. At the moment, I know Pi slightly disagrees, but for me, Kepa playing is not really a big worry at the moment. Sure, if they shoot from distance, maybe, but then tell your midfielders to close and defenders to close players down to stop them from shooting from distance. Like, your goalie is not the only one that stops shots from distance. It's the players that stop the shots from distance ever happening in the first place. But Kepa is in goal. But now when we come to the back 4, I know, Charlie, you prefer the back 3, but if it is a back 4, who would that back 4 be in your head? Especially I guess the centre-backs are the most obvious, but what would be your back 4 if I'm now forcing you into picking a back 4, I suppose?
Now we can roll with the back 4, that's fine. Easy for me, Silva and Rudiger at centre-back. And then, I mean, unfortunately, I'd probably rather see, I don't know how popular this opinion might be, I'd rather see Malang Sarr play left back than Alonso tomorrow, particularly in a 4. I'd rather see that, but I'd rather see that personally, but I think Tuchel will pick Alonso, obviously. I don't really like seeing Aspie play at wing back or full back anymore either, but we don't really have any options, so I'd go Sarr and Azpilicueta.
Fair enough. If I ask you now, if we do play a back 4 tomorrow, would you still like to see us defend in the 3 or 5, if you want to call it that? Or would you like us to stick to a 4 at all times? If we're going to stick a 4.
Yeah, it's that hybrid system, isn't it? Because we've seen Hakim Ziyech play in one of the 2 positions behind the striker, and then defensively he'll play as a right wing back. I'm not sure how much I like that. Particularly in a game that we need to massively win for our season. I think if we're going to play a system, attacking that system and defending that system. If we need to get a few more players back, then get them back. But I'm not sure we need to be switching between the 2 systems for attack and defence. That's just my personal thought on it, really. But ultimately, it's worked when we've in a couple of games against Spurs, but ultimately they were really shit as well in those 2 cup games. So I wouldn't expect them to be that bad again when they come to Stamford Bridge tomorrow. But yeah, I'd like to see us just attack and defend it in one system. But we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, that's the 4 I'd go with. But I know that Alonso is going to play, but I'd rather see Sarr.
Fair dues. I go to you, Clutch. Same question as well. Alongside, who would you pick for the back 4? Would you prefer it to stick to the 4, or would you, just to feel a bit safer, I would suppose, like us to still switch to the 5 when we defend?
Personally, I want to stay to the back 4, but I don't think that's going to be what's going to happen. If it was me, I'd try to stick to the back 4. Because, if you keep those guys back there, it's going to be a little bit more defensive anyway. Yeah, I would probably stick with the back 4. And that's the ones that I have. That's the exact back 4 I have.
The one small argument I will go to tell anybody that's like back-to-back forward. I liked Saar against Spurs here. Like, I really did. But let's not pretend that if the two fullbacks are defensive, we have less attacking players in this system than we do in our three. Like, I'm just saying, right? Because then at least we can debate how good our wingbacks are now that it's not Chile and Reece James. But whoever it is, they still always get up the pitch and we have a lot of attacking numbers. In this system, if you tell Saar and Aspie, and it's never going to be both, Aspie will still bomb forward essentially, but still, it's either going to be the same number of attackers or players attacking, not attackers, that's the wrong word, or less. Like, I'm just saying that the back four doesn't necessarily give you more players in attack. It just gives you more on paper attackers. That's the only thing it does, really. But it's a tough one. I'll give my opinion last on this one, but Pies, I'll go to you. For you, the question as well. Would you like to see, if we go back four, right? Would you like to stick to the back four? Or would you prefer to keep the kind of fluid mix of the two going that we've had?
I think we should stick to the back four strictly, sort of the first 20, 30 minutes to see how it goes. Because a lot of it is kind of adaptation into, what the opponent throws at you, how they play as well. So, I think if Spurs are on the ball more than we expect and they're attacking more than we expect, then I think for sure, maybe go to the back three. But again, it's like with counter-attacks as well, it's more ideal to kind of switch into the back three because, if they go down the sides, then obviously the wide attacking mids can then track back and kind of make it into a five. So I think it's more realistic that Tuchel probably does that. And I mean, to be honest with you, I don't pay too much attention. Like, I'm not a tactical account or anything like that. I don't. That's not my thing. But I definitely notice it, like when it happens, of course, because everyone can see it. So I think if it happens, then yeah. But I don't really have too much thoughts on it. To be honest, I think it just depends how the game goes and how Spurs play. If they're sitting deep like we expect them to, then yeah, we can keep basically the shape of the four because we'll have the ball all the time. But if it depends how their counters do as well. Like it depends also if Conte plays, because if Conte plays, then I don't necessarily think you need to go into the back three, because I think Conte, if they go down his side a lot, if they're naturally playing down his side, then I think he can more than cover and track runners. So, obviously Ziyech will, if he plays, will naturally come back, or Mount or whoever plays on the same side will track back, but it doesn't have to be like strict, if you get what I mean. It's not like Tuchel has to shout at someone if they're not in the position when we lose the ball kind of thing, you know what I mean? Like, I just like to see some more, like it to see it more like fluid, you know what I mean? Just let it go, like, let the game go how it goes, and then we can adapt. It's not something that you have to decide at kickoff for me.
Don't you?
No, I don't think so, because I think these guys should. I mean, they've trained this formation. They should know what to do when, if Tuchel shouts or tells one of the players, like, free off the ball now. It's very easy to get a message across, So
No, I get that, but it's still, if you want to keep yourself that option open, you still need to pick the lineup accordingly.
Yeah,
because
I think he will.
You can't just pick, like, not any 11 that we field can do the fluid system mix. That's what I'm saying.
No,
So
I think
in a way,
he will.
you need to decide before, to some extent at least.
Yeah, no, I think he will do that. I think we will see it tomorrow at some points. But I just, even if it's in his head, if he chooses that team, he's still got to choose a team and let the attacking guys know that, maybe you won't be doing it as much as often. Like, you know what I mean? It's not. I don't like how some things are so like strict. You know what I mean? All the time. I don't want it. I don't want us too predictable as well, because you got to remember they've got Antonio Conte as well. So, like, I know Spurs are debatable, but obviously he's a master tactician himself. He knows how to see things as well. So I don't think that it's something that we need to be too strict to. I'd rather us be more unpredictable, to be honest.
Fair dues. And if it is a back four, would you stick to this same back four that Charlie brought up, or would you go Alonso on the left?
No, 100% this back four. If I see Alonso and Aspie again tomorrow, I might puke, and I'm going to the game, so people near me better watch out, because I literally like I'll start like throwing my chicken nuggets onto the pitch or something at Alonso, because I can't deal with this guy anymore. I just can't. I can't watch. Please no, please. Sarr is like 10 times the player, and he's not even a left back. Like,
there you go. Clutch. I'm not actually sure. Did you ever say that this is also the back four you would pick?
Yeah. This is the one I'd go with.
Fair dues. I'll stick with you then, Clutch, for the midfield. Who'd you pick in midfield? Obviously, last game we had Jorginho and Kante. That didn't really work. But does that mean we now shouldn't play Jorginho and Kante? And if we shouldn't, who does Kovacic come in for? Or does all of a sudden Saul Niguez play? Do you know what I mean?
No, I think it's the obvious midfield two of Kovacic and Conte. I think it's been 4 days since we played, so Conte's had a pretty good amount of rest. I think we are going to need him to break up play, especially if we're going to play a back four. I think that he'll be key to that. And I think Kovacic was just sorely missing last game. I mean, that first half, he could have dribbled out of so many different situations, and when he came on, he was a little bit better, but I think he currently is our player of the season. He's our most informed player. We got to keep playing him.
Fair. Charlie, for you, same midfield too?
Yeah, I thought Kante wasn't great against Brighton, but Jorginho was awful. And I just think the Kovacic-Kante balance is a little bit better in terms of the fact that Kovacic is actually a bit more forward-thinking, whereas when Jorginho plays, he's not particularly forward-thinking, in my opinion. Plus, with Kante as well, as Clutch said, there's been enough time to recover. And after this, we haven't got a game for 2 weeks after this, and it's against Plymouth as well. So he's not going to play in that game either. So Kante, arguably after this game, is going to have about 3 weeks off. Well, 2 and a bit weeks actually for the Club World Cup. But so I think it's fine to play him. So yeah, I think it's quite straightforward. Those two for me, I think, is the best two to go in.
Fair dues. A new Pice. Same midfield two for you as well?
Yeah, I'm going to agree all round. I think, I know Kovacic is 100% starting anyway because Tuchel said he's rested him for this game. So it's just whether, you want Kante or Jorginho. And I mean, for me, with Spurs' counter-attacking threats, you have to go with Kante. So, yeah, I think as well, I think the balance has worked better than it has done in the past previously. I definitely know sort of last season, especially when these two played together, I thought it was a bit unbalanced and we didn't really have much control in the midfield. But I think it does work nicely lately. I mean, especially against Liverpool, obviously we had those two right, and we was just a lot more attacking again off the ball defensively. Can question it, but Jorginho playing instead of Kante, like it's going to be even worse off the ball in terms of the counter attacks that Spurs could possess. Because I expect them to play Lucas Moura, so I think you stick Kante on him, and should be all right because especially Kane, if Kovacic can get into him and stop him just spraying passes and stuff like that, then I think that could be a nice balance. It'll be probably what Tuchel picks. I think I don't think he'll pick Jorginho again. I don't think he'll go for a Saul or a Ruben. I think he's really been sticking to these three guys lately. So yeah.
I'd probably agree. Yeah, if we play a back four, I'd probably tend to agree. I don't know, because Jorginho and Kante just give us very different things in that position. Because you could argue when we have the extra front man, do we need Kante's extra ability to press, or do we need Jorginho's extra ability to keep some sort of shape and control to our new system? But obviously against Brighton, he was there and he didn't really do that. So on that basis, I would probably go Kova and Kante. But, on the same basis, I would drop Lukaku. So, no one's listening to that either. These two positions, the one problem I've had with these two positions is whenever we've played this formation, no player in either of those positions, except Hakim Ziyech in the first game against Spurs, has ever played well. Mount was poor here against Brighton. Mount was poor here against Spurs. I can't remember if Callum was any good on that side. I think Callum played it once. That's it might be better for these two, but I think it's worse for whoever plays these two positions, because I feel like whoever plays there is not 1,000,000% sure of what exactly their job is. Like, am I a midfielder? Am I a winger? Am I a half a wing back? What am I? Which is kind of the problem. And yeah, I honestly don't know who to play in these positions because I don't think anyone fits the position. The way we've played it so far, you could argue Ziyech the most, in my opinion, in terms of fitting that position. But that again goes into it like, Imagine, like, think about the outrage we'll have tomorrow if Ziyech starts 3 games in a row. Do you know what I mean? Like, and especially those 3 games, which included Brighton, although he was obviously the only attacking bright spot we had, even if it was just for a split second. But I start with you this time, Pice. Who would be your 2 in those 2 positions?
So before I say them, I mean, as you said, a lot of these guys have not performed well in these positions. And to be honest, in some extent, I don't really think it matters too much. But what I thought of is Lukaku's going to play on the right striker if he starts, all right, which I imagine he does. So I think the right attacking midfielder has to be someone that can track back, but can also pass to Lukaku and sort of, be comfortable in passing. I mean, I thought Mason Mount, but he just hasn't played well there. Ziyech, obviously, I don't really want to try that again, after Brighton. It was just poor, that link up. Pulisic on the right, yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's one of my considerations on that side, but I think I'm actually going to go with Hudson-Odoi just because he's played sort of the right wing-back role. He can track back and also, maybe get him away from the left a little bit where, he hasn't played too well recently. So maybe, I know Clutch will like this. He prefers him on sort of the right-hand side. Maybe, he can be the guy to link up with Lukaku. Just try something different, switch it around a bit. Because everyone else on the right hand side has looked pretty poor with Lukaku, especially up top. So maybe those crosses as well from the right hand side to Havertz or whoever else plays up front could be good. It's just something theoretically I thought of. Similar on the left hand side, really, with Mason Mount. I'm going to put Mount there on the left hand side. Played a lot on the right, but I think a lot of people like him on the left, especially when he plays in the 3. A lot of people like him cutting in on the left hand side. So I think he should play on the left-hand side. And again, with my striker, I think linking up probably got the best relationship with him. So I think those are my 2. But to be honest, Laurenz, as much as it sounds arrogant, I don't really care who plays because I'm just fed up of all of them at the moment. But yeah, just theoretically, I'm thinking of relationships, who can maybe work with each other, because I think the one thing Tuchel might have got wrong recently, the Man City game, the relationship between those 3 was just awful. The Brighton game, Ziyech and Lukaku, awful. And you had Hudson-Odoi up top, which didn't work at all. Like, I don't know. I'm just trying to think theoretically what might work in the game, but it's hard. It's really hard because I think with this formation as well, is they're not too used to it, So it's a hard one. It really is. I don't know.
It is. I actually am not too opposed to playing Callum on the right there. I think it might be a shout. Whether it's because of potentially right wing back. Again, we've discussed this before, Pice. I'm sure you remember when I was like, well, if Sa is here, then this guy will never be wing back because Aspie will be the kind of wing back, right? Because, Sa is a centre back, not a wing back. But I still kind of like the idea. Obviously, Mount played exactly this position against Brighton the other day and was awful. So that's what I'm not sure about. But do I want Pulisic here? To be honest, no. Because I think that's just keeping him way too far away from the goal. And the one thing he's good at is scoring and dribbling and winning penalties. Even though he's not been great at dribbling recently, but even then, he's the most likely to win as a penalty. But not if he plays this far away from goal. So I wouldn't pick Callum here. I wouldn't pick Pulisic here. I don't know. I'd probably pick Mason. But just because I don't think Ziyech would really work off that left side because then he's so limited to just the crosses. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'll ask you, Charlie. What you reckon? Who would you play in those 2 positions?
For me, I'd probably play Timo Werner in one of those positions. I know, like, he's not had a great season. He's not been anything special by any means, not really at all in his Chelsea career. But I thought when he came on for the 10 minutes against Brighton, he actually stuck wide, and he was probably the only player that day that actually ran with the ball. So,
do you not think if we play a front 2, Timo needs to be in the front 2?
Maybe, but I don't know. It's a tough one because, again, like as you say, Mount not been great, was he? Wasn't happy about being dropped against City, goes and plays Brighton, awful, absolutely dreadful. So I'm not sure if he would be a shoo-in for me. I mean, he probably will play, and I think he'll be in one of those 2 positions. But then like I say, the other side is up for grabs, isn't there? I mean, I do like Callum. He was poor, like everyone pretty much against Brighton. Do I want to see Ziyech again? Probably not. Do I want to see Pulisic? No, I don't think Pulisic. I'm not a massive fan of Pulisic, if I'm being honest. I know Clutch won't like that. I just don't think he just doesn't do enough for me, you know. And none of them are doing enough anyway. But I don't know. I'd say Mount. I'll go Mount and Werner for me. But to be honest, like Pi says, I don't really care who starts there because whatever we do hasn't really been working in recent weeks anyway. So, you know, I don't think it makes too much difference.
Fair dues. Fair dues. I get to you, Clutch. Who would be those two in your lineup or in your head?
Spoiler alert, I'm not picking Werner. No, I'd have Cho and Mount. I don't think Werner offers anything in any game other than like a Liverpool or a City. So for me, I would never pick him even in the front two. I don't want to see somebody who can't dribble anymore, and you're going to be having a severe lack of dribblers.
So Lukaku needs to be dropped immediately.
I'm not going to pick Lukaku either. So I actually like the idea Pius had with Cho on the right and Mount on the left. I think we're going to get to Cho's biggest strengths, which is crossing and getting into that. He's going to be able to dribble and get into that position to put the ball in the box. But since I'm not picking Lukaku, no, I'm still going to do it anyway. Because I think he's going to be facing Doherty over there because I think Reguilon's still hurt. So I think Cho against Doherty would be actually a really good combination to go up and try to exploit. So I'd go Cho on the right, Mount on the left.
Fair dues. Fair dues. Yeah, like I said, I probably would as well. Let's get to the front two then. On that note, I'll just stick with you, Clutch. Who would be your front two if it's not Lukaku?
So I think Havertz brings a lot, so I would put him on the right, and I'd put Pulisic on the left. I think for that exact reasoning of we need goals, even though he's been playing poorly and he still has, the fourth most Premier League goals on our team or something like that. I think you got to start putting him in positions to score. I think on that side, you're going to be able to arrive late in the box for the Tro crosses. I think he's going to be operating a little bit better. Him and Mason can kind of interchange on that left side. If Mason goes wide, kind of the same reason I said the other day with Cho and Pulisic on that side, is they can kind of interchange up there, and one can go wide, one can come inside, and they can kind of give a little bit more problems over there to, I don't remember his name, Tanguay or whatever his name is, who's probably going to be playing. Yeah, and I think those two versus him could cause him a lot of problems and can get us penalties. And
Bro, again, my nan could probably cause Tanganga problems, but yeah, I get what you're saying. I go with Charlie last on this one. Pice, what you reckon? Obviously, this is your team. You've obviously stated that you think Tuchel will pick Lukaku, which is fair enough. You said you wouldn't, but would you in a front two?
This is so painful. Because I could see a situation where, so you had Havertz and Werner, right? And Werner, because the thing is with Werner is he wouldn't stay strictly in the middle, I don't think. Like, he'd probably move out to the left where if you had sort of Mount could kind of fill in with that sort of into the middle pocket with Havertz, and it would kind of be like a front three.
Didn't we try exactly that with Callum here last game?
Yeah, we did, but I still think Werner's more natural up there.
Havertz, but yeah.
Like, I think Werner's more natural up there. Like, I don't know. Something's telling me about Werner in this game. I don't know what it is, and I'm probably being fooled, but
I can tell you what it is. It's his interview in which he sounded like the nicest guy in the world.
Bro, I didn't even watch that because I just thought, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, fair enough, nice guy, but I'm just not watching. I don't care.
You should watch it. Just because he's a nice guy. Do you know what I mean? He cheered me up a little bit because Lukaku just pisses me off anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, but I think we could stretch them a bit. But then again, I think if Lukaku plays, I mean, Eric Dyer's back, and like this kind of is the game for Lukaku or the old Lukaku. But I just don't know what we're going to get. Like, is he going to be able to pin the centre backs and then leave space?
He doesn't even want to pin the centre backs anyway. He doesn't even want to do that.
Yeah, you got a point, I guess. I don't
I
know.
mean, he should be doing it, and if he would be doing it, I'd agree, it'd be fantastic. Also, if he scored goals, I'd be all over Lukaku. Remember back in the summer, I was like, yeah, I might prefer Haaland, but Lukaku is still fantastic. I'm still waiting for that fantastic Lukaku other than the Arsenal game, really. And to be fair, when he came on against Villa, that's what annoyed me so much, because he came back, and he was actually good in that second half he played against Villa. And then the interview come out and everything's ruined. I'm like, he was good. We finally had the striker we was looking for against Villa. And then everything got ruined again. That's probably another reason why I'm so triggered. So would you then pick Werner and Lukaku from what I've gathered? Or would you pick Werner and Havertz?
No, I was going to pick Werner and Havertz. I just think maybe because they're the only two strikers that actually have a relationship, and we're talking about relationships and, you know, things that could work in terms of fluidity. I think if you look at Mount, Hudson-Odoi, Havertz and Werner, like, if that doesn't cause Spurs problems, just like that, I don't know what will, because there's pace, there's movement, there's crossing ability to Havertz, like there's Havertz that could drop deep, Werner could then go more forward, like they could interchange, like, but then again, it could just be a bit of a mess. I don't know. I'm not a manager. I'm sorry. I really, with these forward options, there's not really anyone I want to pick, if I'm being honest, Laurenz, because everyone who I pick and I think of like a tactical way it could work, I have a feeling it just won't work, because that's how we're playing right now. You know, anything I can envision, like Lukaku pinning the centre backs and then, you know, like leaving space for Hudson-Odoi to overlap and then get a ball in the box to Havertz, can't see that happening. Should happen, but can't see it happening. You know, like if I envision, like Clutch said, Pulisic up front, do I really think he's going to make those back post runs? Does he have the confidence to right now? I don't think so. Does he have the dribbling inside the box? I don't think so anymore. Like, not recently. Of course,
will the crosses go there anyway? I don't think so.
Yeah, the crosses go there. I don't think so. Like, I'm sorry to sound like a bit of a moaner, but it is what it is. I mean, it's true. You know, you can. I'm not looking forward to the game tomorrow. I don't know who's going to play, and I don't think I don't think it matters who plays. I just think whoever plays has got to fucking do something. It may take some individual brilliance. You know, I don't think we're going to work as a team with Lukaku, so that's why I've gone with Havertz and Werner. But then again, as I kept saying, as we was debating earlier, Laurenz, is if you take Lukaku out the team, I can almost imagine you at the stadium tomorrow. I'm going to be thinking, oh, well, actually, I'd like someone in the box. I'd like someone to actually, you know, be a bit more physical. And, you know, I'd like someone to, you know, I mean, it's like, it's so like, we just don't, we don't have that other guy to come in and just be like, yeah, I can trust you, Lukaku, get out of the squad. You know what I mean? Like, it's not as simple for me. I just can't do it.
That's why it would be good if we had another actual striker in the squad.
That's what I mean. Like, you know, I'm not even saying Brozier because he's still young, but like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know. They're gonna have to figure this out in the summer.
Should have just made Giroud stay as a backup.
Yeah, I mean,
we got 1 million for him. Really, for 1 million, we had to sell him. Come on.
I mean, the thing is with Alicia Giroud is at least I know he was slow, but at least he tried. At least he pressed. You know, at least he. You know, you could kind of have that plan B tomorrow of playing in for 60 minutes or up until even half time, then you could switch it. But he was pretty much always impactful when he played. Whereas with Lukaku, he's just not. He doesn't do anything at the moment. So, like, what do you do?
If anyone doubted how frustrated I am by Lukaku, and if you watched me long enough to know my thoughts on Giroud for the most part, Lukaku is making me miss Giroud. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you've spoken to me or heard me on streams and you know how I spoke about Giroud, you know how crazy that is for me to say. Sorry,
Laurenz,
guys,
I was saying the other day, I was going to put a tweet out, but I thought I'd get flamed. I was saying these wide forwards are making me miss Willian. And,
bro, it's facts, man. I tweeted this weeks ago. None of these are anywhere near as good as Pedro and Willian.
Bro, it's facts because Willian, like, worked hard. He used to cross the ball in. I know his crosses were pretty much shit, but he'd score goals. He would create chances. Like, you know what I mean? It's got to that point where I'm thinking, you know, Willian might have actually done something in this side because these guys, you know, these fucking other guys have been shit. Like, they can't even make a 5-yard pass. Like, that Ziyech and the Lukaku thing, when I watched it back, like, I don't even blame Ziyech. I know what he's trying to do. Any top striker would, like, put it back, like, you know what I mean? He just put it past the defender.
Control with his right foot. Just
Like,
use
I
your
don't
right
know.
foot.
Yeah, like you knock it past the defender. You know what I mean? I'll send you if anyone hasn't seen the clip, but what I mean, it's hard to explain it through words, but it's very easy to see what Ziyech was trying to do. And I mean, yeah,
He might
Lukaku
have
just
slightly
didn't read it.
overhit it. Like, that is a fair criticism, but still, it wasn't uncontrollable. And you agree with that, yeah?
Yeah, and Lukaku was like basically moaning, that's like, why did you pass it here? But Ziyech was actually trying to explain what he was trying to do. Like, I don't know. It's just, yeah, I'm stressed out. I'm in pain still. I'm in pain.
Yeah, there you go. I mean,
Uh,
I said at the start of when we decided, like, do we go back three? Do we go back four? And what we're going to get up on screen here. I said I wasn't sure. As we went through this, I kind of made my decision of what I think. So if now someone forced me or told me Tuchel will play this formation tomorrow, as much as I don't want Lukaku playing, there's no point playing a front two if Lukaku doesn't play. Like, I don't want Lukaku playing, but if you're telling me I have to do a front two, then Lukaku probably has to play. Like, like, do I think Havertz, Pulisic, Havertz, Werner, Havertz, anyone? Like, how's that front, like, how the dynamic of a front two? I'm not sure if it will work with Havertz and any of the options we have. So
it could work with Werner. It could, because they play together with Germany. So that's why I went with them personally, because I think there'll be quite a lot of
when was
link
the
up
last time we've actually seen, like, I get that, and they clearly have some sort of connection, but when have we last seen that work on the pitch? And I'm not saying you're wrong. It's a genuine question. When did we last see that? Because who knows if it still works.
I mean, to be fair to them, like, a lot of the time. Well, I mean, what game was it? It was probably Fulham, wasn't it? At home, I think, when I can remember. That was.
And Fulham are relegated.
Yeah, that was
So,
probably the game.
It's at least 8 months ago.
But then, Laurenz, they don't really play that much together either.
No,
Like,
they
you know
don't.
what I mean? So in comparison, it's
Maybe
not
there's a
actually
reason,
that long
I don't
ago.
know.
There's probably other games, but I can remember the Fulham game where Werner and Havertz were brilliant together. I can remember that game for sure. There's probably maybe one or two
Oh,
others.
I remember which game you mean now. The over the top one where Mount had that assist for Kai. Is that game, right?
Yeah, and then Werner like slid in Havertz, and Havertz scored, and
that was Timo Werner's best pass at Chelsea Football Club. That pass to Kai, by the way.
Yeah, but like, even if you think of that now, who's gonna, like, say theoretically Lukaku was running onto that? Do you think anyone would pass that? I think they'd probably just shoot. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, or they'd probably freeze and maybe pass it out wide. You know, we're in such a bad rut at the moment. I think the players, as Tuchel said as well, that they're tired, but I think they're also shot of confidence for whatever reason. I don't know. Like, it's going to be a very interesting game tomorrow to see how we come out, because as much as I don't think we'll lose, a draw is 100% the possibility if we don't play well.
It is. I would, just because I've changed my mind, and I'm sorry I didn't give you boys the option to, like, pick your full alone team, but I guess small advantages of it being my channel, I guess. I would play a back three. Now I've come to this conclusion. I will show you now what back three I would play. Yes, I would play alongside the back three. I know it sounds crazy. I am dropping this man here. Sorry, lad. Who am I missing? Well, I guess it probably has to be him, and I know that's bad, but on that side, probably, well, no other option. Right? Who else can I play wing back if I want a wing back? It's the only one I can pick. Right? I'm playing Callum here. I think I'm playing Jorginho here.
Laurenz, can I suggest something?
Please do.
Because I'm just seeing that Alonso Sarr. Would you not put Rudiger there? Maybe Aspie the other side? Because
No.
I think no. Okay, fair enough.
Just because Sarr has way more pace than Aspie right now.
Yeah, I just thinking, like,
I completely understand what you're saying.
When we play Rudiger in the back three on the right, I just think, like, you might as well not play him, because I just think he's so influential on the left. I don't know, but it's your lineup. I was just thinking, you know.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I can't lie. I don't even disagree.
You're just fed up with Aspie, which is fair enough. He's not. But then
it's not even just I'm fed up with him. I just want to do something different. Because I feel like we've not done. I know we've changed the formation, but we've played the identical personnel all the time, except Sarr. And at least Sarr has actually been half decent.
He has been good, to be fair. I mean, even when people were slating him for City, I I still maintain, I think Alonso was largely the problem in that game. I think Sarr just got so many 2-on-1s because Alonso getting spun. I was like, oh, God. I think it was actually all right.
I mean, you're not wrong. I get it. But yeah, this is probably what I pick. Maybe, actually, now that I think about it, I'll go back to Conte here. Switch them around, doesn't matter. Just because I picked Joe here, because I want this to be attacking. I don't want Callum to play wingback like Aspie plays wingback. I want this to be like a proper thing. I think, and I get what Charlie said, but Pulisic played this position once in God knows how many weeks, and okay, shit for the first 40 minutes. But after that, after his goal against Liverpool, was the best forward we've seen at Chelsea since Lukaku against Villa on Boxing Day. So like. That was the only one that's done anything in our front line since Boxing Day, was Pulisic in that very game of any of our forwards, right? And he hasn't gotten to play that position again once since then. So I'm like, I'm not saying he's going to be great, but again, I'm going back to the meritocracy that I spoke about, for which reason Lukaku needs to be dropped. For meritocracy, he needs to get a chance here. And Callum just needs to suck it up and understand that, unfortunately for him, his body just makes him a good wingback, a good attacking wingback. So he just needs to do it, deal with it. And then Mount can come a bit central. This can all happen here. We can have clutches, runs to the far post, to Callum's crosses. You can still all do that. And what Alonso does over here, I don't even care. Even switch Kante and Kovacic around if you want. Let Kante help Alonso and Sarr if necessary. Do you know what I mean? Like, just give me some movement, for God's sake. I just want someone to move around. And I feel like Kai moving will make Pulisic move, because Pulisic has this need in him. There's probably this American, and I'm going to say this in a positive way, by the way, this American will to succeed that's just like, ooh, no striker here, I'm going to be here. So as soon as Kai moves, Pulisic's going to be there. So then at least we're not going to have the role open as if it's like, if we play Callum and Mount around them, Callum and Mount don't fill the roles because they don't have this undying need to do something. And I think Pulisic has that. Like, they do, but not in the sense of scoring, just in the sense of playing well for Chelsea. Both have it, Mount and Callum. No criticism to them at all. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying, if Kai moves, that will automatically make Pulisic move, and that will automatically give us movement. That's my thinking. So that's what I play. I know we're not going to see that, but that's what I play. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we've been, again, going for bloody 2 hours. I do apologize too. Well, not you watching. I hope some of you enjoy it. But yeah, City dropped points on 2 occasions against Southampton this season. Just, we can't beat them, flip sake. But I get to some score predictions, because we need to do that, because we need to bloody get back to winning ways. Charlie, I swear I haven't heard you say a word in a hot minute. So I'll ask you first. Score prediction. You confident? You scared? You like... If you have like a heart and a head prediction, hey, tell me both.
Do you know what? Like, I'm confident because it's Spurs, and we always seem to beat Spurs. And I think they've won once in the Premier League at Stamford Bridge ever. I think I've seen. But then on the flip side, what I would say is our home form has been concerning this season. We've taken more points on the road than we have at Stamford Bridge. A lot of drop points at home, not necessarily defeats, but drawing so many games. I mean, like Pi said earlier, I wouldn't expect us to lose tomorrow, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was a draw. We're not playing well. Spurs are obviously unbeaten under Conte in the league. They're not playing amazing football, but they're not playing worse than us at the moment. So, I mean, I still think we'll win. I'd still go for a 2-1 Chelsea win, just because I think we'll be up for it. It's a London derby. We always do well against Tottenham. And we should have just about enough to see it through. But home form concerns me, as I said, and current form in general is a concern. And the most worrying thing for me about our current form is the fact that I can't see how we get out of this situation at the moment. Like, nothing fills me. I don't see anything in general to suggest that we're going to be any better than we were against Brighton on Wednesday or whatever night it was. Tuesday night. Yeah, I know it'll probably be a little bit better because it's Tottenham. We'll be slightly more up for it, but I can't see where a vast improvement's going to come from. We haven't played well for a long time. To be honest, mate, I can't remember the last time we played well.
Liverpool,
and that that in itself is a bit of a concern.
Well, Spurs first leg we won.
I
We
don't
did.
think we played well against Liverpool, to be honest. I just think it was a chaotic game. I think it was
I don't think we played that well against Liverpool either. I think we
vibes.
just
it was vibes.
yeah. I think we
I
showed
thought
good
second half was
good
pretty
character,
End of
good
the first half and
character,
second half was good.
but that was it. But I mean, yeah, look, I still think we'll win tomorrow. I'm going to say a 2-1. I don't know if that's slightly, me being, I have to back us to win. But I've got to be honest.
There's nothing wrong with that, bro. You're Chelsea fan.
No, there's not. But if I'm being realistic, mate, I really wouldn't be surprised if this was a draw.
No.
But I'm going to go with a 2-1 win. I think we'll just scrape past.
Clutch. What about you?
I think my head prediction would be a 2-0 win. But for Pius' sake, because Pius is going to be there, I'm going to go say 4-0. I hope my heart.
4-0. There you go.
Fuck me, if it's 4-0, jeez,
If it's 4-0, I'm coming here with all the party songs. Coming here like disco lights for the stream after the game.
4-0, jeez. That would be something that we'd have to play like we did against Juventus, but unfortunately we can't because everyone's not everyone, but most of our good players are injured.
Wink, wink.
Yeah.
I'm joking. But Pies, what would be your score prediction?
What do I go for? Because I've not been right lately. Just trying to think, what could I see myself seeing tomorrow? Because, realistically, I'm going off what I've been to. I've seen a lot of 1-1 draws this season when I've been there. So I'm tempted to say 1-1 again because I think my last 2 games have been 1-1. But I'm going to go with 1-0 Chelsea. I don't think we'll score more than 1 goal. I think it'll be a pretty boring game. This is me, by the way, trying to reverse jinx everything. I think it'll be a very boring game. I think we'll probably score a corner header and it'll be 1-0 Chelsea. Let's hope that's
so
reverse
now you're
jinx.
just expecting the second leg against Spurs.
Yeah, let's hope I've reverse jinxed all that. Corner header, 1-0, boring game. Right, come on, be the opposite. Let's go. Oh, please.
Proceed to us losing 4-3.
Ends up being 3-3 with a 90th minute VAR penalty red card for Rudiger or something. Oh, God.
There you go. Well, I'll pull off a bit of a cop-out again. I'll give you 3 different score predictions. If we play a back 4, I'm saying 2-2. Just because, I just hope we score 2 because I'm pretty confident we'll concede 1 or 2. If we play a back 3 with Lukaku, I think it's a 1-1 draw or a 0-0 draw. And if we play my back 3, which we'll never see, we'll win 2-0. Just I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I really, really do not know. But we still have a fair few people if you're watching, which I really do appreciate, especially because football's going on. It's Saturday, I understand. I'm still thinking whether I should do, even for Sunday games, do the previews Friday. I'm not sure. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, if you're still here, I appreciate you massively. I haven't actually told you today, but if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. We're on the road to 15,000 subscribers. We are past 13K, which is brilliant. So let's get to 15K now. Every new subscriber counts. So hit the big red subscribe button for me. Smash the like button for me as well, which I also haven't told you about. But please do it now. Subscribe if you haven't already. Like I said already, check out Charlie's channel. Link is down in the description. The Blues Brothers. Check out Clutch and Pice on Twitter, of course, and Pice's website as well. Big shout out to all 3 of them for giving me their time of day, because for giving you their time of day, one could argue. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to round it out here. Thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, upwards and onwards. Let's hope we get a win tomorrow. Bloody hopefully we get a win tomorrow. And we'll see you next time.